Spirituality Now podcast is sponsored by Delaflor Teachings International, a spiritual and systemic coaching and consulting company with the mission to help individuals, businesses, and corporations create brilliant futures through sustainable transformation. Also sponsored by the Network for Human Empowerment, a philanthropic TV network that serves Spanish-speaking communities with free, conscious education aimed to empower individuals to become the best versions of themselves. And our podcast producer, Ascend Media, Authority Syndication, delivering premium video marketing, podcast production, and social syndication.
Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host. You're really Mexican and grateful and happy and passionate and sometimes really, actually all the times, very human host. My name is Yvonne de la Flor, and welcome. This podcast used to be formerly known Sovereign Futures Podcast. We have an episode in which I explain the transition, the elevation process, the rebirthing process, and the reason I've been contemplating this for a year or so. It was to up-level and upgrade. Missions always evolve. I always tell people, don't get married to your mission as it is. Married to the evolution, the progress, the excitement, the unknown that is coming from it. Because once we get stuck into something should be like this, I don't know you, but I have learned from the greatest teacher in my life called life that usually that doesn't work. We end up ending in resistance. We don't allow the flow of the more or the flow or deleting what doesn't longer work to let go and to allow the new to arrive. So we upgraded, elevated this podcast to Spirituality Now podcast as we're preparing to launch in 2022. Number one, I used to have a program called Shiftless Life, and I used to have a podcast about it. And then, I review my core values. Some things were off. I kind of paused that project. I pause and I tend to rebirth anything I do. I tend to find a new way for anything that doesn't work. Some things I let go, and some things I just rebirth them or upgrade them. And Shiftless Life has become. We have everything that we need, legal, etc., the shipless world. So now something that used to be an academy only for women is for men, for women, for kids, for adolescents, teenagers, in the times we're living in humanity. More. It's not only that we need less sheep people, we need more leaders, but we need more leaders. What type of leaders? Is leaders that, when they are called to lead, they just do it. They just don't think about it. They just don't have time even to think. I don't know how to lead. I'm not a leader. When leadership calls, it's calling for you. You are the one. I recently heard that I just came back actually from a 3-day live event where I went to see and support and keep learning from my mentor, Tim Grover, the mentor and the coach of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And someone of the speakers, forgive me, I don't even remember who was it, said that God doesn't call the prepared. God prepares. Calls the unprepared and prepares them. He calls them because he prepares them. He up-levels them. So Shipless World is going to be like that. It's a Beyond the Matrix kind. It's programs. It's an e-shop. We have products. We are going to be donating. We're going to be contributing to the education of, which includes freedom of speech, supporting human rights, supporting constitutional rights. That's coming for 2022. So the Spirituality Now podcast made more sense for all that is coming. I'm also publishing my new book next year, and you'll see when it comes out why we have spirituality now. Anyways, enough about me. This podcast, as you heard probably in the intro, is philanthropic. We are kind of self-sponsored. We are sponsored by De La Flor Teachings International, my company. I'm the CEO of it and the creator, which is the actually the only accredited spiritual and consulting coaching company for businesses, for entrepreneurs, for solo people, for individuals, women, men, anyone that wants to reassess their data, their trauma, their shadow, whatever it is from the past, and be able to rewrite the story, get the golden nugget of the past, integrate all of that shadow work, trauma. I'm moving forward towards new modalities because embodiment needs to happen right now even faster. So we look for acceleration, we look for scaling, we look for integration and embodiment faster than before, because right now, even though slowdown is a part of my work, speed is also a part of my work. So we do that work. So when you are in your business, when you're in your relationship, you can show up more embodied. You can show up with less stories and more actually relevant history for your now. We actually help people live more present in the moment in whatever belief, in whatever belief you have. We integrate it. We make it all inclusive, holistic kind of vibe. And we help you design, architect, and sculpt the brilliant futures which are now. So that's De La Flor Teachings, our sponsor. We are also produced and sponsored by Ascend Media. Again, it's authority syndication media. They edit, they make sure that all my passion, all my loud voice that comes in the podcast, all my incredible guests, they are properly edited. They are properly, well, not them, they're properly the sound. We do our best to deliver to you a great episode. With that said, with that sponsorship, we ask you that by the end of this podcast, if it served you, if it gave value to your life, remember this is free. We only ask you to sign up for our podcast, like it, share it, subscribe, leave us comments, leave us feedback or feed forward, the feedback and feed forward, and let us know when you want to hear more of. Anyways, enough of my commercials and of me. I am super honored and excited because I really believe that, I'm a student of archetypes and all the Jungian thing. But if the archetype of the queen had an image and a face, the woman that it's here honoring, gracing, blessing the temple of our podcast would be that. Like, how you see tarot cards and the tower and the lovers. The queen should have her face. Plus, she's gorgeous. Externally, internally, holodynamically, aurically, electromagnetically, honestly, go check her out after you hear her and you feel her, and we'll put all her links. Her name is the one and only and beautiful soul of Anabel Vizcarra. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Anabel is an embodiment mentor. See, we're talking about embodiment, a womb shaman. And guys, I was privileged to attend as a student to one of her programs, initiations for sisterhood. Well, I not only was humbled, but blown away and blessed forward into my future. And really, she held me in that workshop. I cannot call it workshop because it's such a sanctuary that she creates for spirit. I was rekindled and reunited with the power of sisterhood through her work. She teaches women how to awaken and embody their wise and wild feminine wisdom. That's so important these days. Through her cultivated gnosis, she helps women trust their awakening process by reconnecting to their core source of wisdom, embodiment of their womb wisdom, which is essential. Ladies, in these times, there's kind of a battle of, the good and evil battle. Guess what? We are the embodied power, the womb warriors. In a way, I don't like to use the word warriors a lot, but we're that womb power that needs to show up now more than ever. She believes that when women come back into their working with their own body wisdom, they are able to transform their lives, build their queendom, and express their genius. Anabel's work is a uniquely crafted synthesis of ancient womb shamanism, gene keys. And for those of you who don't know the gene keys, in our first episode of this podcast, which used to be called Sovereign Futures, our first guest was the creator of the gene keys, Richard Roth. So go and check it out. Gene keys transmission, Ayurvedic medicine quantum physics and epigenetics. She's an incredible sister, supporter of women. She's one of the most emotional, intelligent people I've known, and she's my sister and my beloved friend. Welcome, beloved Anabel. The microphone is all yours.
Oh, thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for I am humbled by all this beautiful description and introduction. Thank you. I received that. And likewise, thank you.
Yeah, you're being really humble and brief, but you really, you are humble, but that's who you are. You've been putting the work. You are an embodiment of flow and of grace and of the power of femininity and the wild, but you also have been doing the work. I think there's no way around the work. So my beloved sister, it's been so long that I wanted to have you in the podcast. Remember one after the other. I'm so grateful. I'm so joyful. And so, let's start in the beginning. So how does Anabel Vizcarra becomes so embodied and becomes devoted? Because I will say that you have this frequency that in Sanskrit is called bhakti, devotion. Devoted to the sacred path of service, number one. And two, to the sacred path of the feminine and serving women awaken, especially in these times. How did that happen? Where does Anabel begins?
Oh, wow. That's always, I'm sure, an interesting thing to ask someone, right? Because how do you bring that into just a podcast episode? Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge this beautiful rebirth of the podcast that you've been in. We've been talking about getting together for quite a while, and I'm actually so grateful that I am able to come into this new, fresh space that you have now rebirth. Yes. So, and I feel like rebirth is such a topic, right? When we're speaking embodiment. So I want to acknowledge this gorgeous space. Thank you for the invitation here.
Yes, Danielle.
Yeah. And so where is the beginning really, right? So for myself, I would say that, I didn't go into this willingly. That's one. And two, with an idea that I would be doing what I'm doing now. For me, it was really about, it was a life humbling that allowed me to tap into the deeper questions of what being here, it really means. And that was through the birth of my son. When I gave birth to my son, I remember being birthing him, and my body was actually having a lot of memories awakening at that time. And of course, I didn't know what that meant then. And took me still a few months, maybe even years, to really appreciate what that meant and what my body was telling me then. And so that story of like I had a successful business, and when it was in real estate. And so when the crash came, it really took everything from under me, including marriage and business, and just really took away everything that gave me meaning at that time. Everything that I felt I was defined by, it took it away with one stroke. And so that's how I began to tap into what am I really here to do then? If having money, having material success, having that security, made me so unhappy and isn't what it's about, then what is it really about? What am I going to teach my son most of all? And I think that was the question that I allowed to lead me into the depths of then, the journey I was about to embark on. So that's kind of so what I do now is really has become a byproduct of that, of taking that journey inward and allowing it to shape and rebirth me, as is my design. So I
love sister. Yes. I love, no, I love it. And I get it. And I love it because, It's actually, it's a very tricky question. What I place you is there's no way that we can answer where do we begin. We can say we began in the non-existence, right? We began in the unmanifest, in the womb of creation. But I
Yes.
think you really are bringing it down, like what is ascended. You are descending it to earth. Some very important topics, and one of the first ones that I want to share that you just spoke is that the dropping off of meaning, like it's the rebirth of our embodiment, the rebirth, the birthing, kind of like the phoenix, right, of our queendom, of our queen, requires death too. And so the